Okay, we now welcome on a very, 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 very special guest. First ever Grandmaster chess player on this show. I believe so. It is Magnus Carlsen, the greatest chess player of all time. And I'll start with that, Magnus. Am I allowed to say you're the greatest chess player of all time, or can we? Is it the GOAT debate is settled? You are the GOAT.
I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask really, but I don't mind. That's completely fine by me.
I am the right person to ask, so I'll just say you are the GOAT. Undisputed GOAT. Who else would be in that conversation?
Well, there's Gary Kasparov who has a very good case, I think, and then there's Fischer as well, who Bobby Fischer kind of had, I would say, the highest peak in terms of the difference between him and his competitors, at least in recent times. The problem with Fischer is that he kind of stopped playing right after he became world champion. He had like that 3 year peak from 70 to 72.
Mhm.
So it's hard to say, but I feel like I'm getting there.
This
So
Okay,
that's all I can ask for.
let's make the case for you, because that is what we want to come out of this interview being like Magnus is our GOAT. We'll fight anyone who goes after him. The case I would make for you is, so you have been world number one for what, 14, 15 years? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think continuously now since 2011.
Love that. 15 years. You also are playing in the most difficult era of chess, I would assume. You can correct me. Because the computer assist, the computer analysis has gotten so smart that I think I heard a quote that you said in the past, 20 years ago, to learn an opening in chess would take you a month. Now people are able to learn it in 5 hours because they have the computers helping them. So I would say that you're playing in the most difficult era because people are able to get up to a top level faster than they were 20, 30 years ago.
I agree to some extent that it's kind of harder to set yourself apart these days. Preparation has kind of become less important because everybody kind of agrees these days that the engines sort of know everything, and your phone can pretty much come up with the same result as somebody could come up with days and days of research. So yeah, that part has become a lot easier. As you said, it's so much easier to attain information and to get to a certain level. So I think yeah, in many ways, it's harder to set yourself apart in these days. And honestly, if you're talking about normal chess as well, the best openings are kind of unplayable these days. And if you look at just Gary's area, he was way ahead of his competitors when it came to opening analysis, and he would win a lot of games purely based on that. And you just cannot really do that anymore.
Go confirm. Gary was playing against plumbers.
Yeah, it was a different era. And also, I think more people are playing these days, right? He was playing against plumbers. He was playing against construction workers. Yeah, the rules have changed, too. It's harder to succeed in this era. But when you're talking about the opening, I'm always interested to hear chess players talk about it because the opening, for me, would be like if I learned 4 moves. It's like, okay, I know this opening. At what point does the opening stop and the middle of the game commence?
Yeah, the openings are very different, of course, because the openings that we play, the openings that we're worried about, are not necessarily at the same as that we would be on amateur level, right? On most recreational level, people learn like a certain setup, and they don't necessarily want to play the most sterile lines where you're just going for a draw with the black pieces. I would say. Um, I would say the opening these days and often ends a little bit earlier than it used to because we're going out of um, kind of the charted most charted territory a bit earlier. So I would say these days maybe on after 12, 13 moves on average, we can say that the
Yeah.
opening is over and the middle game starts. I will say though that this is one of the reasons why I've been pushing to play a different form of chess. call it Fisher Random or freestyle or whatever, where you actually sort of eliminate the opening completely and start from the middle game. But yeah, we'll see what the future holds on that.
So that style of chess, that's where you randomize the back row, right?
Yeah, you randomize the back row. There are a couple of rules, like the king has to be in between the rooks, so you can castle on both sides, and the bishops still are in opposite colors. But the idea is basically that you use the same skill set that you have in chess to a large degree, but it's supposed to be kind of harder to mask your weaknesses, because you cannot like count on a certain amount of setups that you use, because it's more complicated than that if the major pieces start on different squares. But for now, that is more of a game for professionals than amateurs, really, because at most levels, like I when people ask for advice for openings and so on, I said, like, play whatever you want, right? And anything works as long as you've as long as it suits you and you got practice there.
Yeah. What a little bit about your history. At what age were you like, I can do this. I have a mind for this that is different than everyone else. Was there an aha moment? And when did you start playing chess?
I've never looked at myself that way, that I am necessarily that much different. Like, I've understood at some point that yes, I can understand the game better than others, but I don't really know why. I don't feel like I've necessarily got a better mind, better memory, and so on. So I started relatively late in chess terms. I would say I played my first tournament when I was 8.5, and at that point, I would say I had roughly half a year of quite significant chess training on my own, and I would say, so I played the Norwegian Championship under 11. I finished in middle of the field, which, I didn't have any expectations. I thought that was good. And then the next year I won it. And I thought, well, I've now beaten a lot of the kids that started a few years earlier than I did, who are a couple of years older. And I've sort of gotten there in 1 year. Then I started thinking, well, maybe at least I was doing it in a different way than the others. Like, how we go to soccer practice or whatever other sport you're doing. Like, most kids, if they do that, they do it once or twice a week, and then maybe you have a match at the weekends or something. And this is what kids would do with chess as well. There were very often this kids tournaments in the Oslo area. I wasn't doing that. I was studying on my own a lot. Apart from that, like, I wasn't merely playing chess. Like, I was already living chess to a large degree back then. And so it was, in that sense, it wasn't a surprise that I surpassed the others, but that's when I felt like, yeah, I could actually be quite good at this.
And what was the moment? How old were you when the world started noticing, like, oh man, this guy? When did you go world number one? Were you still a teenager?
The first time I was world number one was only for about a week, but that was late 2008, so it was a little before my 18th birthday.
Okay.
And that was pretty cool. Like, that was about 9 years after I played my first tournament. So the progress until then have been pretty good.
Yeah, that's insane.
So yeah, you were talking about how you live it, it's part of your life more so than it is like an activity or recreation. When you're playing, do you get the same joy out of winning as you used to, or is it more about the process for you?
Unfortunately, the sad thing about chess, as in life, is that negative feelings are they're enhanced a bit. So, like, a really painful loss as people may have seen from my last tournament,
Mm-hmm.
it hits a lot harder.
You hate losing.
Yeah, it hits a lot harder than the wins. So I'll be very satisfied often when I win. I may not always show it, but the reaction to losing is unfortunately stronger still.
But I saw how you lost, and I said that I like that because you show me a good loser, I'll show you a loser. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to get back in the lab and you're going to be stronger.
Yeah, but I don't know. Part of me, honestly, when I had that loss recently, just felt it was so dumb and so unnecessary, and it just made me feel so kind of washed and useless that my thought for a few days was just, I'm not sure, like, why am I doing this? When I win, it's good, but it feels kind of normal, and then when I lose, it's just for a moment the world just falls apart.
It was so funny when people were like, he's the bad boy of chess. I love that nickname. Like, you just get mad after a loss and they're like, wow, what a bad boy. Look at this rebel.
Well, you also wear jeans.
Yeah, true. The jeans. It's a big one.
So you are the bad boy. Are you the bad boy of chess?
I don't aspire to be a bad boy. I sometimes I think I'm in a position, compared to some of my peers, I'm in a position where I can afford not to take shit.
Yeah.
So I think that's when but honestly, like, those moments I had, like, banging the table, like, I'm generally not going to apologize for outbursts in the moment, as long as you realize afterwards, well, you show your opponent the proper respect and so on. I obviously, like, I wish I could have avoided that by winning the game, but I honestly think that there should be room for that in chess as well. It's a little bit like smashing your racket in tennis. Like, it is such an uptight sport to begin with that I think it's okay.
Yeah, human emotion is good for the game. It's growing the game. Now, you said something there that you had moments afterwards where you're like, am I washed? I want to come clean. I'm not a big chess fan. I saw 2 clips that week, and both of them were your losses. So I was like, I think I made the comment on this podcast, is like, all this dude does is lose. And then everyone corrected me. It was like, he is literally the best chess player of all time. He's been world number 1 for a decade and a half. So I'm going to come clean on that. That's on me. You're now my GOAT. But when you lose a game, do you have those thoughts of like, hey, chess is a young guy's game. It's a young kid's game. You see the child prodigies. Are you worried about, how much longer you can go?
It has to be said, though, the way that I lose, it depends. That particular loss felt so bad and so unnecessary, and I guess part of it was, well, this guy is young, and he's the official world champion, and I know that this is going to be a big thing. But there was another game in the last round where I was losing for parts of the game, but it was a very interesting game, and I still had chances to come back. And in that game, I was very comfortable with the thought that I might lose, because, it's a good fight. It can happen. And I managed to pull through. But if I'd lost, well, that would have sucked. But it wouldn't have been the end of the world. The time when the kids surpass me, it's gonna come for sure. But it's not there yet.
Yeah, I love that. Wait, so you're saying it was the way you lost. And also, by the way, you won the tournament. You ended up winning the tournament. So, like, that should be stated.
As you said, the clips that you see, I said it before as well, that if people stop caring when I lose, then that's not a good thing.
That's true.
They don't boo nobodies. That's a famous saying in American sports. Reggie Jackson. So wait, so it was how you lost that you were more mad about than losing, because losing happens in chess. How did you lose? Like, what did you? Is it a specific tactical error that you made that you're like, how did I miss that? Or was it overthinking?
Yeah, it was a combination of a few things. Basically, I dominated that game, most of the game. I was basically just choosing between the most comfortable ways to win. And then he started like digging in, really fighting back. And I it's one of those where my time starts ticking down, and I could feel that, my blood sugar was dropping a bit as well, so that didn't help either. I got short of time, and by the end I had completely lost my mind, which is why I felt so washed, because I felt that kind of thing wouldn't have happened to me 5-6 years ago. But I can accept it if somebody plays a great game and beats me. Like, that's fine. Like, it's still gonna suck. But I'm fine with it. If somebody, like in that game, just kind of gets outplayed with the white pieces, and then I just like implode in that way, that was pretty bad.
It's fascinating to read about what chess players go through during a tournament, because I feel like a lot of people that don't follow chess don't realize how much stress these guys are under over the course of a tournament. I think it was in the New York Times, it said that you can lose like 15 pounds over the course of a tournament just from anxiety and sweating. Do you go through that at all, or are you able to kind of like keep a level mindset?
I don't know. It depends on the tournament, but what I will say is that I got to where I am now, which is at my in-laws' summer house with my wife. I got here a couple of days ago, and like my appetite since I've been here I've just been eating nonstop. So I probably.
Hell yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Probably had some energy to recover after that tournament.
Can you get a snack if your blood sugar drops? What are the rules about that?
No, you can definitely get snacks, and I usually am quite good at regulating that during games. And that particular day, okay, the excuse train starts.
Yeah.
But that particular day, I had walked to the city, which is about a 45-minute walk, because a lot of roads were closed because of a bike ride. And then because of that, well, also I'd be golfing earlier in the day with my coach.
You got to golf. You got to golf.
Yeah, you got to golf.
Yeah.
Like, we started 5:00, so
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
And then everything was delayed, so I only had time to get some Chinese takeout. That was right by the playing hall. I brought it into the playing hall and started eating it during the game. So I was kind of fine, but my body was like a little bit more stressed than usual, and so I felt that I needed to be a bit more vigilant. And the thing is, as I said, I'm usually very very conscious about those things. If I know that I have a winning position, but it might go on for another half an hour, I will regulate based on that, get an extra snack or something. But sometimes when the brain just malfunctions, you forget about those things, and then it is just a good old-fashioned meltdown.
It sounds like you beat yourself.
And also, you got to have a snack coach.
Yeah.
You got to have a guy that's at your side with a suitcase filled with pretzels, ice cream. we can learn. We can improve from this.
Yeah, that's my go-to. You beat yourself, and we get to get you snack.
I know. Usually I have to give my opponent credit. Like, it doesn't come out of nowhere. If he doesn't start fighting like a lion in a lost position, then we don't get there. Like, he could have laid down, but he didn't. But yeah, of course, that's the game I win 98% of the time.
Yeah. I've got
it is what it is.
I've got a couple dumb questions for you. Is there such a thing as like a fantasy chess league where I can I can draft, I guess not players, but you know how like if you play, I know you play fantasy soccer or fantasy football, but you know how you can get the team and you can get like certain players on the team. What if I were able to draft like your knights on my fantasy chess team?
The funny thing is we're actually working on that. Uh, we there's a company called Take, which does like a little bit of chess app. It was like a watch zone for chess, and we do a lot of YouTube stuff as well. And we are working on exactly that thing you're talking about. In that, if you think about it as a normal fantasy team, that the chess players are sort of the teams, and then the pieces are
Yeah.
the players that you draft.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're definitely working on that and other kind of like simpler fantasy games as well that are more based on predictions. Um, but yeah, there definitely is something to be said for that in chess, and it we want to give people an extra incentive to watch. Let's say you got my H pawn, and there's some kind of end game where like if that pawn becomes a queen, you win your mini league and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like what would be the big board if you were to look across the chess landscape? Would it be your pawns, Magnus's pawns ranked number 1? Would it be what's his name? Hikaru, his queen, or would it be like Neiman's anal beads? Which one would be 1-1?
That's a good question. There's a guy, we've done a few tests, and there's a guy called Alireza Firouzja from France. His queen he just plays like wild, complicated games. So his queen should be the number 1 draft pick in any.
His queen work is insane.
The best queen.
In
Yeah.
a league.
Yes, queen.
I love
work
that.
is-
Yeah.
What's your number 1 piece?
Honestly, probably my queen as well. Although I do feel like my flank pawns, like if you want to get in cheap on something,
Mm-hmm.
those often live very long and important lives.
Yeah,
lives in my games.
The pawns are the offensive linemen of chess.
They are. What would be your worst piece?
Somehow my light squared bishop does worse than my dark squared bishop, and I
Oh.
don't understand. It's just something about the way that I play. It was not about Bobby Fischer that he like much preferred his light squared bishop to his dark squared bishop, with playing with the white pieces. But I don't know. From me, it's for some reason the opposite.
Yeah. You solved a 50-piece puzzle when you were 2 years old. What do you remember what that puzzle was?
No, I don't remember it. But what I do know is that my 4-year-old nephew, he's better than I am.
Ooh.
He's been better than I am for a couple of years already. So
Is he next?
we definitely got some talent in our bloods.
Do you know how
when
long
it comes to that?
Yeah, do you know how long that puzzle took you when you were 2 years old?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have very few memories.
All
of
right,
those
I'm just
days,
trying to figure out because
unfortunately.
I did a 50-piece puzzle with my son like maybe a few weeks ago, and it took me about like 35 minutes. So I'm thinking you as a 2-year-old were smarter than me as a 40-year-old.
I don't know. Honestly, I think the last time I did a 200 puzzle piece with my nephew. I think that took a couple of hours. Like,
Okay.
that was embarrassing.
Okay.
I probably think that I was better at 2 or 3 than I am now.
That's crazy.
Is your nephew? He's playing chess.
No, I don't think he's started with that yet.
What's the youngest you can be to actually learn the game and to get good?
So there's an Indian kid who's 3 years old and who's rated 1600.
What does that
A
mean? What does that
3-year-old?
mean for us? Because we have no idea what that means.
Yeah, that means you're a very decent amateur player. You beat.
He's 3.
You're like a middle of the pack player in like a normal chess club anywhere.
That's
That-
crazy.
And I've seen him play. He can definitely move the pieces around.
Let's say, and I think you're the GOAT. You're our GOAT. You're going to be the GOAT for a long time. But let's say 10 years from now, you get passed up. Would you rather get passed up by like a 5-year-old or maybe someone who's in his 20s? 'Cause I think you'd want to get passed up by a 5-year-old in like the most hilarious fashion.
I don't think it's possible to get to that level at 5.
That's why you're the GOAT.
But you know, I want to see somebody. I want to see somebody among the kids like really stand out and be a serious threat to be that new number one guy who can actually dominate. Because that has been the norm in chess, that there's always kind of been that one guy who's been better than the others. And with the kids right now, I don't see it. Like there are a lot of them are really talented, but it's not obvious that one of them is gonna dominate. So
yeah,
I would love for that to happen, and then I'd probably try my very best to hang on for another few years.
That would be so funny if me or Big Cat were playing against this 3-year-old. There's a good chance he would just absolutely destroy us, and then
he would 100%.
Yeah,
and then he'd have to get his diaper changed. Like that's a possibility that could happen.
Yeah,
he's like he's peeing himself and just ruining us mentally. So for you, I know that being number one for so long, for the longest
of anyone in chess history
ever born in the history of the world.
Actually, Kasparov was about 20 years, and I'm 15 years. I don't want to be hurting my case here.
Okay, all right.
All right, fine, but that was also let's just throw this in there.
That's the plumber area.
That's the plumber, and also USSR geopolitical shit. I don't know.
Yeah, they were cheating.
We'll figure
in
it
Russia.
out. Yeah,
they were doping. That's why they're not in the Olympics.
Yeah, actually, here's what we'll go with. Kasparov had 2 different times. He wasn't number one for 20 years because he was Kasparov USSR, Kasparov Russia.
Different
Those are
guy.
2 different guys.
Different guy. Yeah, the flag changed.
The flag did
That
change.
is true.
I'm looking right now. The flag had changed.
Head to head.
Yeah.
You versus him. Who won?
I only played him a couple of times. At 21 years ago, I managed 1 draw.
Okay.
And then we're actually working together back in 2009, which was extremely after he'd retired. So he was my coach for a bit, which was extremely helpful for me. But then we played a few training games. We didn't play too many because it got too competitive, and
I love that. I love that.
It would kind of ruin the whole vibe.
Yeah.
But I think then it was fairly even. Like I had slight edge, but it wasn't. There wasn't a huge difference.
So as you've been so good,
he's really good.
Yeah, as you've been so good for so long, do you have to find new ways to keep yourself engaged, or are you ever like, I've played all the chess, I've thought about every possible combination of moves? Like how do you stay at the top if you've been that dominant for that long?
Easy answer is that I love playing, and to me the next tournament is the most important, right? The next game is what I'm concerned with. So there's nothing particular that I would love to win except for the next game. So I'm still living and breathing when I'm at tournaments, but honestly, I don't have a lot yet to achieve. So I just love playing.
Yeah.
Have you thought about maybe trying checkers?
Honestly, I don't even know the rules of checkers.
So I could
yeah.
beat you at checkers.
You're a bum.
Yeah,
I didn't mean that. You're the GOAT. That's very funny. I mean, and also we definitely couldn't.
Yeah, you would sit down at the board and immediately you'd say, okay.
Yeah, 2 seconds to figure it out. What can you explain the jeans thing? The fact that you got fined, most ridiculous thing ever. Is that just the chess has to figure out a way to kind of get with the times, because you actually got fined for wearing jeans to a tournament?
Yeah. The thing was that there was a dress code, and the general dress code was I don't know, business casual or smart casual, something like that. But the thing is, I was in a lounge that ran a little bit late, and I went back to the hotel, got changed. I just forgot to change my jeans. It was an honest mistake. These were decent jeans. Like, I had a nice shirt, I had a jacket. I definitely met the general criteria for the vibe that you wanted for that tournament. And the most ridiculous part was that, like, chinos were allowed, jeans were not, and players were checked for pants that, well, these look like jeans, but they're actually chinos,
Uh-huh.
so it's okay.
So it was about the material.
Well,
Like
yeah.
somebody came up and had to. They
when
felt.
when it's like a 200 player tournament, in a big hall, and most people, like, they don't make a ton of money from chess. Like, they cannot necessarily afford to have nice suits and so on. But in my case, it was an honest mistake, and I was told that I was going to get fined, and if I don't change for the next game, then I will be forfeited, which I thought was so insane that I thought there was no way they were going to enforce that, seeing as um, I looked perfectly presentable. And, well, then it turns out they did, and then I was like, yeah, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't. I understand that, they have certain rules and they want to enforce them, but I think the I still think it was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah,
Bad boy.
no, I'm not sure if I'm the best ambassador for uh, for the whole jeans thing, because I like wearing jeans, but as I said, it was an honest mistake. But it's become a thing now, so now I'm obviously wearing jeans to everything.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can you wear shorts?
No, one player was actually forfeited for wearing shorts at a tournament.
That's crazy.
And his explanation was that, well, this is a knockout tournament, and honestly, I expected to get knocked out in the first couple of rounds. I don't have any more clothes to use. This is all I got. You see, like, this is the level we're at.
Yeah.
At chess tournaments. But that's why I loved playing from home online tournaments during the pandemic. Like, you can be sure that I was rocking shorts under the table in a lot of those online events.
Would you play better if you're wearing shorts?
Yeah, so I was living, like, by the sea, so a lot of times I would use the breaks in between games to, like, go for a little swim. I would come back with my hair all wet, and with my bathing shorts dripping, and just sitting down on the towel and playing the games.
Love
Good
that.
times.
Love that.
Do you think that your hair gives you an edge? Like, can you tell that your opponent gets
Best
mesmerized sometimes?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm too lazy to do anything about it, unfortunately. But that has also become a thing now. So whenever I actually make my hair, people just get freaked out.
Well, you're a heartthrob as well. You're bad boy heartthrob goat. One last thing about the goat, and I have one last question after that, because I know you're gonna run. But you're being humble by saying, Kasparov and everyone else. There's no one who can touch you right now, though, right? Like, no one in a full tournament setting can touch you right now.
No, I mean, I will lose a game here and there in a tournament here and there, but at the moment, I would say that I'm definitely the best at every format that we play. And honestly, my closest competitors are still the old guys around my age.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the kids, they're good, but they're not quite there yet.
I love that.
Talk that shit, Shaq.
I love that. Yeah, we got to start talking more shit. Can we talk shit on your behalf? You did post a Omar from The Wire post. You know, that was kind of talking some shit. I like that.
Is it wrong if I admit that was not me and that was my social media guy? And
okay.
I probably wouldn't have done that myself.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we allowed to post clips from The Wire on your behalf?
Yeah, for sure.
Like you
love
make
that.
a great move with your light squared bishop, and then we do the Weebay where he's like looking around like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That one? This one?
Sure.
Another one?
Sure.
Okay.
Are we
Yeah.
allowed to tell people that you'd fuck a bitch up with your light squared bishop any day of the week?
Dark squared. I
Dark
prefer
squared
dark
bishop.
squared.
I knew that. Fuck.
Yeah.
All right, I got to tighten that up.
But we're working on the light square.
Yeah, we're working on it. No, that's actually I said it right. It's you'd fuck him up with your off bishop, even the one you're not even good at.
Yeah. You'd kick their ass.
That's true.
You'll beat their ass, left-handed. I don't know what dominant hand you are, but yeah, that's how you
I
got to
am
do it.
right-handed.
Yeah, so
I'm
that's
left-footed though.
Oh,
That's
okay.
weird.
All right,
Yeah.
Magnus, I got one last question. We really appreciate it, man. It's been awesome. Roback question, rhoback.com. Promo code TAKE, 20% off your first purchase. Q-zips, polos, hoodies, joggers, shorts. Roback.com, promo code TAKE. So my last question is, so in the future of chess and where you're going, actually, I have a different question because I heard this about you and I find it very interesting. There's a timer for chess, right? So what is the timer in a tournament setting, or does it vary tournament to tournament?
It varies tournament to tournament, but you can say that classical chess is usually about 2 hours per game. And then you have rapid chess, which is like 15, 20 minutes. And you have blitz chess, which is 5 minutes or less.
Okay, so I was listening to an interview, and it was really interesting to me that you said that basically there are times when, like, someone who you're playing, they will take forever to make a decision. And you know in your heart of hearts, like, if you go past about 10, 15 minutes, you're not going to find something that wasn't there. And I feel like that's a good way to live life, where it's like people overthink everything now. And you're like, in chess, I will know, like, I will go through my list of what strategies I want within the first 10 minutes. If it's not there, you got to just make a move.
No, that's true for sure. And that is something that chess teaches you as well. Exactly that you have to make decisions constantly, and they're not going to be based on perfect information. But how much better is it going to get if you procrastinate? That's uncertain. Before we go, one last thing that I will say, because I'm going to get in trouble after otherwise.
What's that?
It's that my wife loves the pizza reviews.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. Love
That's why
that.
I'm
One
here.
bite.
We
That's
got to
why I'm
get
here.
you. Listen, do you come to America for tournaments?
I'm coming to Vegas for a freestyle tournament in July.
Does
July.
does a freestyle tournament get crazy?
No, freestyle, is that the Bobby Fischer one with the randomized?
Yeah, that's where you randomize the starting position. Yeah.
Okay,
So
well, we'll exchange contact information. Maybe we get you on a pizza review. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'd love that for sure.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Magnus. You are our GOAT. We will defend you now.
Who's your
going
biggest rival? Like, who should me and Big
Yeah.
Cat set our sights on and make sure that they know that they're not the GOAT?
I would say it's yet to come.
Yeah.
There's nobody
Yeah,
right
there's
now.
no one.
Yeah,
I like
you know,
that.
actually, the real answer to who your biggest rival is you not eating
Yeah.
Chinese food during a game after playing 18 holes of golf. That's the problem. That's the only way you're going to lose.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Magnus. We appreciate it.
Thanks.